Wichita Liberty TV, featuring host Bob Weeks. Local politics without the spin. Interviews with nationally respected economists. Hear directly from Kansas conservatives about what matters to you. It's individual liberty, limited government, and free markets. Wichita Liberty TV.
Hello, I'm Bob Weeks for Wichita Liberty TV, your weekly source for news, analysis, and commentary about Wichita and Kansas government and public affairs. We're broadcast on Great Plains Television, that's channel 26.1, also its companion website, kgpt26.com. Some of you may know me from my blog, that's the Voice for Liberty at wichitaliberty.org. The motto there is individual liberty, limited government, free markets, and economic freedom in Wichita and Kansas. If you'd like to learn more about the issues covered today or to contact me, please visit wichitaliberty.org, subscribe to the email newsletter, like Voice for Liberty on Facebook, and follow me, Bob Weeks, on Twitter. A few weeks ago, I spoke to you about things the Kansas Legislature needs to accomplish this year. I didn't have time to present the full list, so here are a few more things. And remember, legislative leaders say they want the session to be over in 75 days instead of the usual 90 or even more. So it seems like there could be time to tackle some of these issues, that is, if the legislature wants to. In Kansas, we need an independent state auditor. Now, we have an agency known as Kansas Legislative Post Audit, or LPA. But LPA is controlled by the legislature, and that's a problem. Kansas Legislative Post Audit examines what the legislature wants examined and nothing else. Just consider the efficiency study commissioned by the legislature last year. Now, that wasn't performed by Legislative Post Audit, but the legislature exempted itself from the study, showing that the legislature doesn't care to be placed under what it believes to be unnecessary scrutiny. Now, the LPA audits and their scope are often politically motivated. This month, the legislature approved an audit of the Kansas Department of Children and Families, which runs the foster care system in Kansas. Now, this is important. The state intervenes and takes responsibility for these children, so we must be sure the system operates properly, which is to say, always in the best interests of the child. Now, while formulating the scope of the audit, one legislator wanted this question to be part of the audit. What are DCS formal policies and actual practices regarding the placement of foster care and adoptive children with same-sex couples, and how do these compare to those in other states? Now, that seems like a good thing to know, but this question will not be part of the audit. There was a political consideration that prevented this question from being part of the audit scope. Now, there are many audits conducted each year, but these are primarily external audits conducted by accounting firms, and these audits are usually concerned only with whether accounting standards and regulations have been followed. They do not examine whether spending is effective and efficient. So, we need an independent auditor to review and analyze the economy, efficiency, and effectiveness of the policies, management, fiscal affairs, and operations of state government, agencies, programs, and accounts. And this independent auditor must be accountable to the people, and only the people. Independent is the key word. So the auditor must be an elected office. Now, a new statewide elected office might be politically difficult to implement. So I suggest housing the auditor in the existing state treasurer's office, who is an elected official. I realize this will add to the cost of government, but it will be money spent managing the effectiveness of government, and we need more of that type of management. Well, there's more. Kansas lags behind the curve in criminal justice reform. This means we have a lot of people locked up in prison that really don't need to be there. That is expensive for the state and harmful to the prisoners who don't need to be in prison. Occupational licensure is another problem in Kansas, and a problem that limits economic opportunity. In Kansas, for example, to be a barber, you have to be a graduate of an approved barber college. And in Wichita, a popular barber college costs $17,000 in tuition and supplies. The Institute of Justice has found that Kansas ranks as 44th most burdensome in licensing laws. It also ranked Kansas as the 46th most extensively and onerously licensed state. And when examined, we find that usually the goal of these laws and regulations is to reduce the number of entrants to the field. Well, the laws don't actually say that, but that is their goal. If you can constrain the growth of the supply of barbers, teachers, or plumbers, well, the price of these services rise. Now, that's good for existing plumbers, but not good for someone who wants to be a plumber or for someone who wants to hire a plumber. We can do better than this. We can make it easier for people to advance themselves by reforming occupational licensure. And here's something new that the legislature now needs to consider. A few weeks ago, the legislature received an interim version of the efficiency report it commissioned last year. Said by its creators to involve a team of more than 40 professionals who racked up over 6,000 hours creating it, and is described as an in-depth analysis of the operations of participating state agencies. And the bottom line of the report is this. This report includes 105 recommendations which cumulatively would provide $2 billion in benefits to the state over the next 5 years. And that is a lot of money for the Kansas budget. Well, undoubtedly, this report will be the subject and discussion of debate over the next few years. And it is through that process we will discover which of these recommendations are feasible and which are within the realm or window of political possibility. But it's important to place this report in its context. In 2012, as we remember, the legislature reduced tax rates. And while some, perhaps even many people, do not like the way the tax cuts were distributed, a central fact remains. The cuts were designed to leave more money in the private sector. Therefore, state government needed to reduce its spending in order to match the lower revenue. But that did not happen. The governor and legislature were unwilling to make meaningful spending cuts. Instead, the state used its savings account to support 2 years of spending more than the state took in as revenue. Then in 2015, last year, when the savings account was running out of money, well, instead of cutting spending, the legislature raised taxes. So the question we still have is this: why did not the legislature initiate this efficient study in 2012? Why did it wait till 2015? The authors of this study claim there is much savings to be had, more savings than what we need to reconcile spending with revenue the past few years. But the last 3 years are now lost to time. If it's true that the efficiency study will yield real savings, then the governor and legislature were 3 years late starting the process. There is no excuse for that, and all parties deserve severe criticism. The savings could have been used to reduce the burdens of the state's high sales tax on groceries for low-income families. The savings could have been used to tackle the waiting list for social services. But these opportunities have been squandered. And still more context is that Kansas liberals and moderates almost universally condemned the study and its $2.6 million price tag. But if the study produces real savings, well, these savings could be used to fund items like the two I just mentioned, or for other spending programs liberals and moderates want, like, say, hiring more public school teachers. I don't know why they oppose this. Welcome back to Wichita Liberty TV. I'm Bob Weeks. This week has been School Choice Week across the country. The term school choice encompasses a variety of programs such as charter schools, vouchers, tax credit scholarships, and education savings accounts. All are designed to empower parents with the power of consumer choice, which is a power that most parents do not have in states with little school choice. This is certainly the case in Kansas, where the existing public school establishment does not want school choice. A majority of the legislature does not want school choice, and it doesn't seem like the governor cares much about school choice either. And as the legislature convened earlier this month, a joint statement released by the Kansas Association of School Boards, United School Administrators of Kansas, Kansas School Superintendents Association, and the Kansas National Education Association, well, that statement exposes the attitudes of the Kansas public school establishment. The clear theme of the statement and of the establishment is that education must be provided by public schools. Not schools in general, but public schools. Now, there's no reason that education must be provided by government, and many reasons to keep government out of education. Across the spectrum of human activity, government provides services at high cost, with low levels of diversity and innovation, and with low accountability. School choice programs allow parents and children to find alternative, non-governmental sources of education, although charter schools are public schools. Now, defenders of public schools over school choice programs say that parents in Kansas do in fact have choice. Parents can, they say, enroll their children in private schools. But these parents still must pay for the public schools, and that severely reduces their ability to pay private school tuition. That isn't much of a choice. And for students in poor neighborhoods, such as Wichita zip code 67214, where the median family income is $29,000, there isn't much money available for private school tuition or to move their households to suburban school districts that might be better. That latter, of course, is a form of school choice available to middle-class and wealthy parents that is not available to low-income families. Across the country, about 393,000 students participate in school choice programs, in this case defined as vouchers, tax credit scholarships, or education savings account. And there are around 49 million students in public schools. So for every one student in these school choice programs, 125 students remain in public schools. And despite that small number of students enrolled in school choice programs, the anti-choice establishment vigorously fights against any school choice program, even the small Kansas tax credit scholarship program. The Kansas State Department of Education reports that since the beginning of this scholarship program, there have been 73 students awarded scholarships, which totaled $108,000. Let me repeat that. 73 students at a cost of $108,000. And the public school establishment describes this as a grave threat, something that drains public schools of the funds. And for a bit of context, there are executives of Kansas Association of School Boards and the Kansas National Education Association that earn much more than $108,000 a year. In the chart I'm showing you right now, above the line are the salaries of executives of KASB and our state's Teachers Union Political Action Committee. These people can afford school choice. They can afford private schools, or they can afford to live in school districts where they feel the schools are better. And these executives earn these high salaries in large part by blocking the type of school choice programs that could benefit children living in Wichita zip code 67214 with its median family income of $29,000. That's the short bar below the line. So why is the public school establishment so firmly entrenched against school choice? Well, for one thing, private schools don't pay dues to the Kansas Association of School Boards. Teachers that are not in traditional public schools are usually not members of the Kansas National Education Association. That's our teachers' union. They don't pay dues. And without these sources of revenue, it might be difficult to pay the high salaries of KASB and KNEA executives and staffs. But there's more. The ideological bent of these groups is for more government, more taxes, more government spending, and more governmental control over the people of Kansas. Consider this sentence from their joint statement. Now, we turn our attention this week to the State House in Topeka, where the legislature is gathering to consider how to provide for the people of Kansas. Well, there, in a nutshell, there is the paternalistic governing philosophy of our state's public school establishment. Government provides for us. But it's not only that. The public school establishment is not being truthful with Kansans. Now, the Kansas public school establishment is proud of Kansas schools. In this joint statement, we've been talking about satisfaction with schools is evident. The statement says, our Kansas public schools are great. The results are there. Working with parents and communities, Kansas schools rank in the top 10 nationally on every measure on reading and math tests, high school completion, and college preparation. Well, according to the National Center for Education Statistics, that's part of the United States Department of Education, Kansas does indeed have a high percentage of students that graduate from high school. But this is really the only bright spot for Kansas students. In many other measures, Kansas is near the middle of the pack of states, and in some cases, much below the middle. For example, in the recent report, Quality Accounts by Education Week, Kansas ranked 20th overall among the states. For last year's ACT scores, Kansas ranked 21st in composite score, Kansas ranked 20th in readiness for college in English, and 20th also for math readiness for college. In U.S. News & World report titled How States Compare in the 2015 Best High School Rankings, we find Kansas ranked 45th among the states, with 1.3% of its high schools earning a gold or silver medal. Kansas earned no gold medals, only silver. And in the National Assessment of Educational Progress Test, or NAEP, also known as the Nation's Report Card, well, we see more evidence of the unfortunate weakness in Kansas schools. NAEP is a test that is the same in all jurisdictions. Consider fourth grade math, looking at the percent of students who score proficient or better. For all students, the state as a whole, Kansas ranked 22nd, a little bit above the middle. But when we look at subgroups, something else appears. For black students, Kansas ranks 38th. For Hispanic students, the rank is 34th, and for white students, the rank is 29th. Similar patterns exist for math and reading in grades 4 and 8. The highest Kansas ranks in any of these subgroups is 15th for grade 8 math for Hispanic students. And at wichitaliberty.org, you can use an interactive visualization to examine these NAEP test scores. Now, the important thing I want you to remember is that when we compare Kansas NAEP scores to the national average or other states, and when we use appropriate subgroups, we find that often Kansas underperforms the national average. And the reason for this anomaly is called Simpson's paradox, in which aggregated data hides differences between subgroups. And given that white students across the nation score better than black or Hispanic students, and given that Kansas has a high proportion of white students compared to the nation and many other states, Simpson's paradox makes Kansas NAEP scores, again, only considering all students, appear high. But if you are a parent with young black children learning to read, would you rather be in Kansas, which ranks 37th in reading for black students in grade 4? or in Louisiana, which ranks 25th in the same measure, or Colorado, which ranks 3rd. Welcome back to Wichita Liberty TV. I'm Bob Weeks. In keeping with the theme of school choice, I'd like to show you a short video that uses a lighthearted approach to explain a vitally important issue. School choice is vitally important. The achievement gap between white students and minority students is large, and progress in solving this problem is being made only very slowly, despite decades of public school reforms and ballooning spending. Progress is achieved too slowly for us to wait on a government solution. This is why some people call school choice the civil rights issue of the current times.
No one likes choices.
My opinion doesn't matter.
Why should I decide? Don't give me a choice.
Just tell me what to do.
Other people are smarter than me.
What if I get confused?
I don't know. Any around.
Options are bad.
We don't want school choice. We don't want school choice. No, we don't want school choice. No, no. We don't want school choice. No, we don't want school choice. No, no.
Although our local school is losing, we still got no business choosing.
Scholarship to private school, don't let me pick, I'm just a fool.
Even if our kids got smarter, we don't want the choice of charter.
District schools are all the same, but it's okay, my kids are lame.
We don't want school choice. No, we don't want school choice. No, no. We don't want school choice. No, we don't want school choice. No, no.
Families with cash, their choice is pure. But we shouldn't choose, cause we're too poor.
We're the middle class, smarter people protect us. So it's for our own good that they disrespect us.
We don't want school choice. No, we don't want school choice. No, no. We don't want school choice. No, we don't want school choice. No, no. Tell us what to do. Tell us what to
The rich should pick our schools, but the poor should clean our pools. Why go making all this fuss when school choice should be for us?
So let the parents choose, that would cause a drop in dues.
And if their schools are failing, oh, just tell them to go sailing.